Hey, this is Rebecca Hart here at Faith, Hope, and Wellness, and we are going to continue our topic this week on histamine. So we're going to be talking about a little bit more involved histamine issues such as mast cell activation syndrome, or MCAS for short. So about 9 to 17% of the population have this, although it is increasing more daily because of recent viruses and more toxic issues. So these type of patients are your canary in your coal mine. So the canaries they used to put in the coal mine because they would pass out and stop chirping before the toxic gas would get the actual coal mine workers. So they are the most sensitive patients. They are the ones that are going to react to everything. So we'll be talking about some of the conditions that actually can cause mast cell activation syndrome. So number one, mold exposure, mycotoxin exposure. This seems to be the most heavy in my practice that actually goes along with mast cell syndrome. Number two, toxic chemicals that you may have been exposed to. It also can be toxins themselves like Listeria or Ciguatera and different toxins that may be in your environment. Three, heavy metals. So heavy metals that you're exposed to in everyday life now. If you get them chronically and they are overloaded, that is one thing that can manifest and push you into mast cell syndrome. For chronic infections. So chronic infections, what are we talking about? Lyme, especially Bartonella. Bartonella is a co-infection of Lyme, and Bartonella is cat scratch fever, but it can be transmissible by fleas, lice, ticks, and cats, hence the term cat scratch fever. You can also have Babesia as well as a co-infection, Anaplasma ehrlichia. There are numerous chronic infections. Chronic stress. If you are under stress for a long period of time, this can also push you into MCAS. But the biggest one is trauma. Trauma can really push somebody into a mast cell flare-up or a mast cell reaction. Nutrient deficiencies. So nutrient deficiencies can also hinder this as well. The biggest one being one of the big players on this board is nervous system dysregulation. So a lot of people who can have these other things such as chronic infections and mold exposure can also have nervous system dysregulation. I have a lot of patients who come in, they are super sensitive. They cannot be treated with anything, not until they get their nervous system dysregulation controlled, such as limbic system, their nervous system and their limbic system, or their vagus nervous system. They have to get those under control and calm them down. Other thing, food triggers. So food triggers, different foods that create excess histamine, those are not going to help an MCAS situation. Another one is lack of DAO. DAO is an enzyme that breaks down histamine. Also, singular nucleotide polymorphism, or SNP as we call them, which is a gene of HMNT. These people do not break down their histamine either. And then you have a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos. In Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, people tend to have more mast cell activation syndrome, and that's because the Ehlers-Danlos population, they have a issue with their collagen in their skin, and mast cells live in the skin, and the mast cells degrade because the collagen is degrading. So for these type of patient populations, they'll most see mast cell activation syndrome. So these are the conditions. Next week we'll talk about what can we do as far as diagnosis, what type of labs that we can do. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week.